Yes, I see it's coming on. Oh, great.
So
Much for that. Yeah, Clara.
off we go.
Off we go. Hopefully all the participants now can see it. Thank you, Clara, for the wonderful intro. Thanks, Saskia, for inviting me and also organizing this fabulous platform. Thank you to all the other speakers. I haven't been able to catch most of it of the last 2 days, but I hope to on the replay. It's a really exciting time. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. I'm actually online. I'm beaming from Geneva in Switzerland. So I'm in the heart of Europe and the last epicenter of COVID, but all is good, all is well. So like you said, yes, my company, Bars Fragrance Boutique, I set it up a couple of years ago. And just for clarity, I should explain that while I have this established also in Malawi, I registered in 2018. On the Malawi end, I do only the selling part. But I am actually based here in Europe, and my company is incorporated in the UK as of April 2018. And the reason I did that is because I started off here, but I think it's very important. I saw that in the fragrance sector, you can't really win because you're always competing against the big brands. You know, there's L'Oreal, L'Occitane, whatever. And I saw that my only differentiating factor was the fact that I am African, and also that I was using African oils in my products. And so I was like, I need to be able to go local, go to source. And so I did that. But instead of operating and having full operations in Malawi, like factory and so on at ground level, I was like, let me explore what it's like to actually get African oils off the continent, do something with it abroad, see if it sells, see if I could get a good market and traction. And then, you know, we can like take it back home. So that's kind of where things are at now. But firstly, you know, you can say Malawi, but where exactly is my country? Sorry, Clara, you got to go on the third slide. I've just given you, I haven't given you actually a map of Malawi because I want everyone to take this exercise. Just briefly, when the whole workshop is done, please go on the Africa map and you'll see right in the bottom, maybe the bottom south, somewhere to the right, you'll see a small little country with a little bit of blue because that's the lake. That's Malawi. What you need to know about my country is that it's known as the warm heart of Africa because the people are warm and, you know, are very wonderful and friendly. As a result, we've never had a civil war. We've been a democracy since 1994. We actually have Africa's third largest lake and the 9th in the world. And of course, for those of you who are scent and perfume enthusiasts, that's actually something interesting because it means we have a huge we have a lot of natural reserve, you know, that's very important. But what's key also to know in terms of just the trade and the industry is that Malawi is landlocked. We're part of Southern Africa, but on the eastern side. So you'll find us above South Africa, below Kenya, next to Mozambique. And if you don't know where any of those are, just find Indian Ocean down towards South Africa and you'll see it there. And all these are important because of the history of Africa. Most of the time, it tends to be that the places that are oil rich or resource rich are places where it's conflict prone. Places, let's say we're talking like DRC Congo, Angola, you know, even Mozambique itself, places where there's been a lot of unrest. And I'm sure some of you have heard even of this blood diamonds. And that's because, you know, there's always this contestation, fighting for it and making sure, well, there've been people who've had access, wanting to get the minerals and get them off the continent as soon as they can. So that's Africa's history, Malawi's history, but it's important to know that for us, it's almost kind of like a new discovery, that there are all these rich minerals in our country. As recently as 2010, Malawi started what we'll call uranium mining in the northern part of the country. It's only about 2% of the country. And then the other oils like natural reserves, natural processing that's happening from plants and trees and barks started at about 2003. And that's where the baobab oil and all these oil reserves discussion comes in. On the next slide, you'll see that when it comes to the extraction of baobab oil, we only have one game changer that I can say is responsible for this as far as my country is concerned, because it's a very small country with about 17 million people in population. We are a former colony of Britain, so we've had great connections with the UK, and already we export a lot of our produce to the UK. For context, you need to know that Malawi is like 80% agri-based economy. So we're already selling out a lot of stuff. We produce cotton, rice, millet, sugar, you name it, because there's some parts like in the southern region that are marshy lands. So things like sugarcane grows very well. And then we also have, so we have a topology kind of like very similar to what I got to learn of Switzerland. Like I've been here for a few years and I realized, wow, the topology in terms of the country, the landscape, very similar in that we have a lake, we have mountains. So we grow tea, we grow coffee, we have rice farming, but it's all kind of like little pockets, not throughout the country. So that every area, every village has its own little produce. But in 2003, this game changer came in. You know, Japan already is supporting Malawi through a project called, you know, JICA. You've probably heard of it. You know, the JICA, Japanese International Corporation abroad. So they're doing a lot of work, not only in Malawi, but I think they're working in over 100 countries. And they go into the country and they see how they could have culture exchange programs between what's working in Japan and that other host country and vice versa. So in 2003, they realized that, hey, you know, you guys actually have very good products. You just need to make them viable and ready to be competitive at global level. And so this project came up, over it's one village, one product. So I would say that out of that, the main highlighting products that have really come out and been like, this is a cash cow for our country are baobab oil and the moringa plant. And all of them, the extraction of them all has been a huge hit because the processing is very, very simple. And already we find that in the country, there were already local farmers who are doing a lot of peanut oil and sunflower oil extraction. And because the process is similar, you know, they saw that you can do it with very little industrialization. But of course, key challenges that remain are that we really need a little bit more of a pumping of resources in terms of the just processing and manufacturing. We're not a highly industrialized country. We need like, so you have while you have like the skill set now and the farmers and the people who've been trained, we just need the equipment. We need the technical know-how, we need the technology. So I would say what's very key around it is that, you know, the Japanese, like I said, they bring in these people who are trained. And at the moment, it's now over 10 years later, this project has been such a success that now we've opened up as a country. You'll find OVOP stores like throughout the country. Our country is distributed in, it's divided into 3 main areas, like the northern regions, central and south. And you'll find that each of them, there's now a shop where what they're doing is getting a host of farmers who work together, come together through a cooperative. And that way they're able to have a good supply, have quality product, have it very much vouched, and be able to produce like a good quantity at the same time, so that a lot of it goes out for export and then a small amount is staying in. In terms of Malawi, like how we as the people use it, Malawians are using it for like food, and a lot of people use it for the skin. So in terms of baobab oil, when I say food, they just use it in cooking, general cooking. It can be used as a substitute even to like sunflower oil or any other vegetable oil, though it's not very widespread because it's still a new phenomenon. But in terms of the Japanese, what they're doing is they take it and they're using it as a huge, huge ingredient in their cosmetics. So I can imagine that it has boosted their industry. And we all know that Japan and Korea at the moment are leading quite a bit in the skincare and cosmetics industry. In terms of what processes, quantities, and export potential and so on, I would say it's a huge hit because right now, even today, I was talking to one of the stockists locally. You would get what I'll call a gallon or maybe about 4 liters of the baobab oil when it's processed raw in its raw form without any combination and concoction, any mixing with any other essential oil. It sells for about 25,000 MK, Malawi kwacha, which is about $33 to about $36. That's the range. So you can imagine that means you're selling it for about $7 to $8 per liter. And at the end of the day, because this is a cooperative, let's say you might have 10 women who are local farmers who are putting this together to be able to make that quantity. I don't really know how much each of them gets at the end of the day. Very little, but it is progress. So why it's key for me, I saw that, wow, okay, I saw the potential in the product because out here, everyone is talking skincare and cosmetics. And especially now, since COVID lockdown, businesses also have had to transition or pivot. And I mean, I've been at this a moment, so I was going here anyway, but COVID has made it become much more of a necessity that, okay, we need to find other ways to have scented products beyond this luxury perfume. we need to think, you know, skincare, body care, home care. And so I'll share later what I'm in the next few slides, what I'm actually doing with it and how I connect with these women. But in terms of the people who are there, who are enthusiasts, who are like, I've never really heard of baobab, or I can get hold of it, but what's so good about it? So many benefits. Firstly, well, I added a few things on my slide that you can see. The scientific name for this, if you're looking, it might, in some publications, you may not find it as baobab oil, because actually even the baobab tree is named as so many things. Some call it the monkey tree, some call it the upside down tree because of its shape, but you can look up different things. You could also look it up under Adansonia, because the scientific name of it is Adansonia digitata. I find that so funny because it's, well, Adansonia is actually named after a guy who was a French naturalist. And then the digitata part just makes me laugh because it's like, it's all about digital, going digital and tech. I just thought, that's a very interesting use of word. So for this century, we need it. So we need it because baobab oil is also known as the superfood. So why that? Because it contains, just like a cousin that some of you might know already, the shea butter, that's very common in West Africa, especially Ghana. It's seen as a superfood because it contains almost every vitamin under the sun. You've got in baobab oil vitamin A, C, vitamin D, vitamin E, and also the most important, omega fatty acids. So that makes it like a powerful carrier oil. If some of you are learning or you've heard of this, I mean, carrier oils are really great in terms of diluting essential oils so that we can use them on the skin. So among the carrier oils, it wouldn't be like in the top, but it's definitely up there, somewhere close to jojoba oil, close to argan oil, in terms of how easily it absorbs with essential oils and easily absorbs on the skin, making it very less toxic. And then in terms of the processing, like some of the women that I'm in touch with that work and are part of these cooperatives, all of them, I would say 80% are doing the cold pressing process to extract the oil. So that means it's just dry. You know, they take so how the baobab is actually done is like they take so you have the tree, and then the tree, you know, seasonally it sheds its fruit, and the fruit is a very hard shell. It's like it's kind of tough, but you take that shell and you break it, and out come these little, very citrusy, I would say, they're like little pieces, like sugar candy, what do you call it? Snow candy, I don't know what they call it, hard candy, where it's tough and it's in square bits. But then if you suck that up on your tongue, you know, it's very, very bitter and very, not bitter, but tangy. So it's got a lot of vitamin C. And actually right now, the science behind it is amazing, because they're saying in terms of citrusiness, it's about the same amount as you would get in 7 oranges. You're talking, when you're looking at it in terms of the caffeine content, it's at least 10 times the amount that you get in coffee. It's at least 2 times of the amount of calcium that you would get in milk. And it's about 4 times the amount of protein that you would get in yogurt. So you're talking really, it's a superfood. And so it makes it great for hair, for skin, and even for those who suffer various conditions like eczema, so skin treatment. So not just using the skin for like moisturizing, but actually preventative and anti-aging, anti-wrinkle kind of effects. So, but in terms of perfumery and just using it in scent, for me, I would say the biggest takeaway is that because of the fatty acids in it, I mean, I think in perfumery, you don't want something that's too fatty, because then, you know, everything else, it will dilute and weigh down all the other essential oils. But it has to be fatty enough that you can combine it with essential oils so that they can stick on the skin. And then, like I said, it's probably not maybe as great up there in terms of making natural perfume as jojoba oil, because when I compare it, and this is why I wanted my microphone on, I don't know if you're able to see me. I have here, can you see me? I brought my little Duran, these are what I use on my home studio. So with the little test tube, this, if you can see, this is pure baobab oil, nothing mixed. This is exactly as I get it from the women in the cooperative. So what I do is I buy boxes and boxes of these. So I would say at the moment on the Malawi end, I'm really, I'm a buyer and a retailer. So I am buying from them raw, and then I am mixing and processing on my own end. The reason I haven't started fully production in Malawi is because I've been out here in Europe and I've just been doing further training. Even during this lockdown, I got a certification in skincare formulation. And what I want to do is be able to pass on the know-how. I have some, people in mind who they can be able to like pass it on. I mean, I'll be able to pass it on to them. And then by remote, I would say, they can be doing what I can also do here by hand. For me, it's very important to have the quality issues assured, because you don't want someone who just copies and pastes. Like you don't want someone to just say, you put in 2 spoons of these and 4 spoons of that. But I think it's important to really understand the science behind it and the process, simply because I think, I mean, skin, that's our most important organ. And you don't want to burn, you don't want to have, just trust issues and quality issues. So safety is also key when we're looking at using it for scent and for skincare. So that's baobab oil, but there's so much in terms of there are other issues, like in medicine, it's also being used, for example, as an anti-inflammatory, and as I mentioned earlier, as an anti-aging compound. So I haven't yet seen enough on the market, to be honest, in terms of how it's used medicinally, but it will be interesting to see. Why I say this is because in parts of Africa as well, where women, I mean, have access to this baobab oil, there seem to also be a lot of body inflammation issues, like high rates of, for example, fibroids and other growth dependent things happening, like in the digestive system. And I'm just wondering, is baobab not the cure for that? But I think it's early days. But what's happening is its cousin, that is moringa oil, is now kind of taking that place in the medical field. So moringa is seen more as like the botanical kind of potent source, like ingredient. And baobab is kind of, there's still sort of, it's new territory. People don't know beyond the skincare and beyond using it lightly in cooking, what else could we do with it? So I'm actually at the moment hunting to see if some of these Japanese experts who've come to Malawi, who've gone back, how they're using it in cosmetics, because I think it would be great to get it back, to get that expertise back on the continent, because, well, that's where it originated from, and I think we can learn a lot. So in terms of what I'm doing now, I would say for me, what's key is that a baobab oil I see as a product that has a potential in luxury. So again, I'm contradicting myself. First, I'm saying let's not do lux because of COVID, but I believe that there will be a world beyond COVID. Once the vaccine is out and people are slowly getting back to a new normal, of course, we'll get back to luxury. And I think there were always people at different levels. And before, there were the super rich and others who they still be using some kind of luxury, even in lockdown. So for them, I continue to sell these products and it works. So 2 years ago, I developed my formula for the men's body oil. It's basically a blend of baobab oil with a lot of other notes that are very masculine. So vetiver, which again, we extract in Malawi. Here, it's not done through cold processing, but there's a lot of heat. I think a lot of a lot of heat, a lot of distillation processes, and they do it outside. And it's groups of women again. So another cooperative is involved with that. And then also musk. We unfortunately don't have musk in my country. And I haven't even seen much of it in this region of the world. But we have a lot of lemongrass. And at the moment, also I'm in touch with a company that started doing a distillation of a lot of plants. So they're offering for me now mint, geranium, and what's the other? And lavender. So slowly, I would say that the number of plants being distilled and essential oils that are being extracted in Malawi is on the rise, as this, like buy local has become a big issue, and sell local and use local. So I think that a lot of people, thank you for all the comments. I see them and I think they're great. And I think that also it's like people have been, I feel like there's not enough awareness. So there's a lot of like, yeah, make local, buy local. But now I actually want, through my products, to be like, use local, because sometimes people buy local, but to give someone else, maybe as a gift, or to give a foreigner who was visiting, like, oh, you were great, here's a little souvenir from Malawi. It's kind of seen as the exception. And I thought, how about if we made products that become the rule? So my second offering is the massage oil. And this is a concoction of this baobab oil fused with West African jojoba. Again, that power, the superpower food. What's great with it is baobab, the jojoba oil is, I would say, maybe 3 intensities lower than baobab, so that when you mix them together, it kind of becomes a much lighter substance. And then I mix it with a lot of French pure essential oils, talking like patchouli, rose, lavender, tonka bean. I've been exploring a lot with tonka bean and coffee lately. But what that does is I got this idea from a friend who came in from Senegal, who had an amazing massage oil. Sadly, she bought it in Senegal, but it was made in France. And I just thought, I wonder if I could do something similar with my African oil. So that's where I mixed it. And I said, how could I get that reddish color? And I got that through patchouli. So for those of you who are scent enthusiasts, or you just want to try in terms of exploring color, I think the African oils give us a range of colors. So when I mixed baobab and jojoba, you get something like a stardust yellow, and then you mix it up with patchouli and it just gives you this beautiful pop, almost like not quite a hibiscus, kind of like a dirty hibiscus, a cross between hibiscus and a bright orange. So it's beautiful and it smelled really good. So I describe it as warm, spicy, rich, and exciting. And then lastly, I have the solid perfume that I make. These are so easy to make that I could give you a quick tutorial in 5 minutes, but I won't. But you should try it. It is basically the quickest product I make, and it's easy, and I'm so happy to say it's all natural. It is really, I guess, great comments. It's 3 ingredients. So I use pure melted wax, and you could just get this from any pharmacy. So here's a recipe for those of you who want to try it. Get wax from any pharmacy. It doesn't have to be melted. It could be in the little, you know how it looks, the little droplets like honey, and then mix it up with baobab oil. Of course, you would need the measurements. I could share this on my site if you would like, but then that kind of destroys my entire secret. But in brief, you can explore this. It's just 3 products. So you use the wax, you use a bit of baobab oil, but then the baobab oil has to then at the very end have a dilution of the essential oils. So because I'm out here in Europe, what I wanted is, of course, I want those African elements coming through, but I wanted to say, how can I not have a product that marries the two, you know, Western Africa, you know, the being in Europe and have a bit of African influence. So I thought I got French oils. That's mostly the time when I'm talking French, I'm talking lavender and roses from Grasse, because I get them directly from producers in Grasse. And then also I've been exploring a lot with the Swiss. In terms of the pure essential oils, it's really chamomile, you're talking eucalyptus. Again, we have that also in Malawi, but they also have some alpine flowers here. And one of those that's key is the elder flower. So you would see it, it's that on that next slide, it's in the middle, that picture, the one that has it looks like a sunflower, but it's whitish. So that's the elder flower. Very popular in the alpine region here in Switzerland. And I travel a lot here and they're going up and down the mountains and learning what each area and each canton, what they prize. And I've been trying to see how could I combine the two, you know, the East and or the West, or my Africanness and being out here in Europe, exploring, learning. So I'm doing a lot of that and putting it back into my work in the studio. So these are my products. I show you exactly as they are, exactly as they exist today. On the left there, if you zoom in on your screen, you will see this is from a pop-up I had last year. So what I do a lot, like I said, my company is in the UK, but what I do here is, because I was exploring the market to see, is it possible that I could get full domiciliation in Switzerland, move it fully here? But after a while, it was like, it's easier to do it, keep it there. The reason I had done it in the UK was to be a part of the EU, because the UK is part of the EU. So by having my company there, I'm able to ship all across Europe. I'm able to ship through France, Germany, and like basically the EU. And Switzerland, as some of you know, it's got trade partnership agreements, but it's not part of the EU. And sometimes some of the things can be, it's a monopoly. So especially on some products like, you know, perfume, because a lot of it comes in from France, there's a lot of control and licensing, and I just didn't quite yet know how that part works. And so I keep it simple. So I do ship locally. If someone orders within Switzerland, I ship that. But then when someone else is in the other regions, what I actually do is I drive across to France and ship using my company, all the details shipping from France. So it can get to Germany like in a day or two. And I normally do French deliveries like within a day. But for the pop-ups, you'll see, this was like last year. So I partnered with another company. It's a beautiful lady with a company called Lancel, Switzerland. She's British, but here also in Switzerland. So her company is on both ends, and she does these candles. And we just thought, hey, it's a collaboration. Why not? Candles can go together with a men's body oil. So we did that. On the one on the right, that's an example of one of her candles. And there I display my massage oil, because on that table, we had, this was for Mother's Day. So we had like gift ideas for moms. So I said, hey, if you're getting your mom a candle, you could also get something small for your dad. So you have there the men's body oil. And then on the right, we had like homeware and other things like, you know, treat your mom. Maybe she loves a massage. You could buy this couple's massage oil. Or if she's a homebody, get her a candle for her home. So that's kind of what you see there. And then on the bottom, this is what a happy customer sent to me. They said, oh, you know, here's a product that has Malawian baobab oil, but made in Switzerland. So I put here, this was just on her bed with that elderflower. So I just like how people use it, and it's kind of building a life of its own, and it grows and it grows. So I'll be available to answer any questions. What I wanted to say is that I do, beyond the baobab oil, I do have other products for my company, Bas Fragrance Boutique. I got into this because, like Clara said earlier, I actually got into fragrance, artisanal fragrance design years ago when I went for that MBA studies in the States, and I was actually in California. So it's a great connection, connecting again with art and olfaction. And through this company that I connected with, it was a Los Angeles-based company, I did the training. I signed up with them to be a consultant, and then I learned the practice, the trade, and eventually I started doing my own products. And one of my clients actually commended my products so much and said, why do I make these creations with that company's logo and brand? I should have my name on the bottle. I should have my brand. And I thought, I should. One day I'll do it. So 4 years later, my product was born, BU by Bhatupe. So that was the first version, is what you see on the far left, the first version. And then it sold really well in 2016. That in 2017, I moved on. After customer feedback, people wanted to see the content inside. So I made the bottle transparent. So then you had BU in the version 2. And then last year, I developed this for Valentine's. It's called Sunday Love. It's just because of my love for Sunday, and I just thought it's a rare kind of love. And last year I was exploring a lot of like this gourmandise fragrance, where you're working with, it's a different fragrance family to do with food. So it's all, like I said, I've been exploring with tonka bean, with coffee, with more with vanilla, with bourbon, you know, looking at gin. What are the combinations between distilling gin or food products and distilling oils? So there's a lot of that. And I thought for Valentine's, why not have something sticky and full of love? So that's how that was born. So those are all my details. I don't know if this presentation will be shared, but you have my company address on both ends. So in Malawi, I'm stocked at this SD Pharmacy complex. And then that's the company address in the UK. That's my email address if you want to get in touch. You can also follow me on the gram, BU at Bhatupe. And lastly, that's not a picture of Malawi. That's actually from the Seychelles or God knows where. But I promise you, if you go to Malawi, it looks just like that. There are sandy white beaches, and people are wonderful and friendly and not wanting to go into war. I think that's all I wanted to say. Let me just have a look at my notes in case I missed something. I'll take questions. Thank you.
There were a couple of questions. One from Eddie. I'm gonna stop the screen share first. Oh.
Yeah, that's it.
Not sure how to do this, but I'm just gonna scroll up.
Oh, IG handle at BU by Bhatupe. Let me just write in the chat.
Okay. So Eddie was asking, are there other beautifully smelling plants endemic to Malawi that the European and North American markets are not familiar with, that you think have high potential for the perfumery industry?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know in terms of like flower, but I think, I mean, already we already produce about 13% of Africa's eucalyptus, the volume, that full amount every year that's made, we have that. But I don't know, I will have to talk to some of these women who are doing a lot more of the distillation on ground. But when you hear, when I hear words like geranium, mint, I mean, mint is there, it's everywhere. But I just feel like geranium we haven't done much with it, even in the perfume world. I don't know if it's that we haven't done much, or I don't see it, or maybe it's not strong enough as a top note. But like I said, my country is 80% agro-based. And that's not just because of our GDP and that's how our people live. It's that way because, like I said, I didn't show you the map, but if you go on the map, you'll see exactly why we have a lot more to explore, because, well, we don't have a rainforest. So we're not as lush and plumb like countries like, let's say, Liberia. And we don't have things like timber or rubber. But I think that we definitely have a lot of trees that, there's a tree, for example, that's very common throughout Malawi called the blue gum tree. Have any of you heard of that?
No.
And I've always wondered, yeah, it's a blue gum tree. So it's a bit rubbery, but not like one that you can get like a rubber tree. So even last time when I went home, I was like, this place is so lush. I was driving through a part of Lilongwe, and there's this area that's like behind, not a national park, but it's a tourist attraction. So behind, they just have a whole lot of forest. And I walked through there one day and I just saw these trees. They're tall, tall trees that are quite slim. And it looks like a tree that has albino. I don't know if you've seen those. Like the bark is very gray and it has whitish tone. And I tell you, I haven't seen it in any literature. I don't also know why they call it the blue gum tree. I'm like, is it a gummy? So maybe we could make rubber. But I remember putting it and saying, I'm going to explore this. I bet we could come out we could come out with something out of this, because it's very unique to the region. I think I've only heard of blue gum trees in Tanzania. So I don't know, maybe it's to do with the lake area, because Tanzania also, they have Zanzibar at the top. I don't think I've heard anyone say there are blue gum trees in Zanzibar, but it's worth exploring. So next time I'm there, I will check it out. But that's it. That's all I can say is the trees. We have a lot of unique trees, but I don't know in terms of plants. We have basically the same that the entire region has. One plant that's also making a hit right now, it's very big in South Africa and in Botswana and Namibia. It's the marula. I don't know if you've heard of that one. It's very similar also to the baobab, but it's the marula oil. It's being used a lot in lotions. Big companies, even like Dove and Nivea, I know they're onto it. They're using it. I've seen one company that's doing major work with it, and they're selling even in big chains in New York. I think it's Nordstrom, one of these big brands. Yeah, but that's it. But then I'm looking, if you're out there and you want to explore and you're interested in investing, like I said, all that I'm doing has all been fruitful. I'm getting ready. So if you're interested, I mean, in getting involved with someone who wants to be more involved on the ground, let me know. Because like I said, I'm 100% from there. I have some small operations I'm starting there and want to grow. So you can get in touch.
We'll all have you in mind then. We're a bit short on time. There are a couple more questions. Maybe I should one and we answer it super quickly and then we move on.
Okay.
Irina is asking about, but she's curious about the shelf life of baobab oil and how to extend it.
No, it's very, it's long life, almost like it goes on forever, like 5 to 10 years, because it's very, it's very rancid. Yeah, it's very rancid. I don't think it ever goes out. But the other thing I should mention is when I said it's not as strong as a jojoba oil in perfumery is because jojoba is colorless and almost odorless. Yeah. So baobab oil has this almost like a nutty, it has some kind of a smell. And I wonder if that's because of the animal, well, the plant fat, because of the fats. So I'm sure maybe in 5 to 10 years it expires. But in any case, even if the shelf life is like on and on, we all know with our skincare products, you need to get rid of stuff after 2 to 3 years. So pay attention.
Super. Thank you, Bhatupe.
Thanks, Laura. It's been great.